before we even get started, I'm going to ask this pressing question, and that is, how many of you are facing a financial crisis? Now, it is interactive, and I love to being able to talk to you, and you come back and talk to me, and that way we learn a lot from this interaction, and it's not me just lecturing you. So if you have any questions or anything like that, if you want to answer this, you could go ahead and if you feel you are having a financial crisis or facing one right now, you can go ahead and raise your hand. And it's like, you're not alone. I heard this new Yana, and it's YANA. You are not alone. So do not feel afraid to ask questions and everything else. So basically, it looks like no one's facing a financial crisis. Okay.
I feel like I am.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and talk about that a little bit more as we go through this presentation. So during this presentation, I want everybody to know, before we get started, I am not a financial advisor. I am going to talk to you about how you can become more financially responsible and how to stress less. I'm going to be providing you with tips and things like that. Now, if you do have any questions relating to stress about finances, I've been around this. This is not my first rodeo as far as finances. And I've learned a few tricks of the trade, and I've also made quite a few mistakes. So we'll go ahead and talk about it from that point. So according to a 2015 report by the American Psychological Association, 72% of Americans felt stress and anxiety about money. And we all do. And it's something that we have as our society. I've been around a little bit of time, and I've noticed as society changes, our behaviors changed. And as our behaviors change, so has our financing and our thoughts about money and how we manage money. But it's very interesting to find that 72% of Americans are feeling stressed about money, at least some of the time. And for me, we have to go ahead and manage that, because it can put you into a very desperate position, especially if you have a lot of other stresses going on in your life. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of the causes of financial stress, and then we're going to go ahead and talk about different things after that. So some of the stressors that people have are student loans, whether or not it's yours as you've been going to college or going to technical school or trying to advance your career and you accumulated some student loans, or whether or not it's you sending your kids or children to private school or even to college. Credit card debt is probably one of the largest debts that people accumulate. And one of the reasons why people accumulate that much debt as far as credit cards is because they're not managing their money well. Some of the other causes about this is also what we call low financial literacy. Now, I remember, and this is before credit cards and debit cards, when the only thing we had was either cash or checks. And I don't know how the school systems are now, but for the most part, you're going to find a lot of times when you're talking in school, when you're learning in school, is that they'll show you how to write a check, but they don't show you how to balance a checkbook or how to read bank statements or anything like that. And most of the society of people, they don't have a clue. So what happens once you get that, you notice when you become of age, usually the big brother in the sky, they know you turned 17 and 18, and all of a sudden you start getting credit cards. Here's a credit card. You're gonna get $500, $1,000. And all of a sudden you say, oh, and then you go ahead and get your credit card, and then all of a sudden you start getting into debt because you don't know how to handle it. A lot of other miscellaneous debts can also be occurred. And one of the biggest problems is low wages. And these are just some of the causes of what people are facing that causes a lot of stress. Now, if you think about the signs and symptoms of people who are stressed, especially about finances. If you've been in some of my lectures before, you also know that a lot of these signs and symptoms are very similar. Difficulty sleeping, feeling angry and fearful, having mood swings, being tired, even muscle pain. A lot of people say, well, muscle pain, wait a minute. Because if you're tense, you place it into your muscles. But the biggest part you want to think about is arguing with people closest to you about money. How many of you finding yourself doing that with your spouse, with your children, even with your parents? You just all of a sudden they say something to you about your money, and the next thing you know, you're flying off the handle and telling them, just stay out of my business. Now, they may be just asking you a simple question, but because you're starting to get so stressed about it, the littlest thing somebody says to you can really just set you off. And as I like to say, they just push the button. And some people know how to do that very well. But it's not so much them. Think about it. It may be you and how you're feeling about your present situation. And then also withdrawing from people because you don't want to have to deal with people anymore about your situation. So now my question is to you. How many of you are suffering from financial stress? I can tell you as a business owner, going through COVID for these last 2 years, my hand is raised. And because the revenue that I was getting, I'm no longer getting. And I like to tell people I have a lot of pre-COVID debt from the business. So there's a little bit of stress. But over time, I've learned different things in order to help me manage that. And so that's what I want to teach and talk to you about for the rest of this presentation. So we're going to learn about different things on how to take control of your finances. One of the things that I would like for you to do, and that you can do, is create a 30-day step-by-step plan on how you're going to go ahead and work through your finances. And one of the things I did, you have this as a handout, and you'll get that later on after the presentation. It's going to talk about different things that you can do in order to create a 30-day plan. And one of the things that you can do is your first week is start creating a budget. Your second week, start figuring out how you can start your savings. Third week, kind of put into plan how you're going to start paying off your debt. And week 4, what you need to do to increase your income. Now, some of you may say, wait a minute, I am in such a financial stress. I never learned how to do a budget. And so one of the things that you can do, and I will have a handout, I'm also going to provide you with a workbook on a new you on your financial planning workbook. And it's going to talk about different things that you can do. So what you want to do is when you start budgeting, you have to figure out what it is you need to budget. So what you want to do your first week is to go ahead and write down, and people, please do not just keep it in your head. Sometimes a lot of people don't want to write it down because when they see the reality, when it's on paper, it makes them embarrassed. It makes them very angry, regretful. It just brings up so many different emotions, but that's okay. If you put it down on paper, you can see it and you see the reality. But that reality is right now at the present moment. And when you find out where you're at, then you could go ahead and make a plan on how you're going to get out of it. So when you're doing the budget, you could go ahead and write down everything that you pay. You write down your utilities, all the hardcore items. It's like your utilities, your rent, your mortgage, your phone bill, your electrical bill, any school debts that you're paying off, and your credit card debts. Put those all on paper, and then also look and put down what you pay each month and what is owed. So you make up one column, what is paid, what you pay, and then the other column, what it is that you owe. And then once you start looking at that, then you can kind of see, okay, now I'm paying this much out each month. And what do you have left over once you kind of figure out what you're paying out? You might find out that the reason why you're having such a struggle is after you pay your bills, you have maybe $100 left over at the end of the month. And what a lot of people are doing in that type of situation is that they go to the credit card and they use the credit card to go ahead and make their purchases. So by setting up a budget, you can kind of look and see what you need to do, and then you can start making plans. And then once you figure that out, so say for instance, at the end of the month, after you've done everything, your grocery shopping, those are your soft type of finances, and the lunches and things like that. Once you figure those out, you may say, hey, I have at least $30 at the end of the month. Don't go to the store and figure out how you're going to spend that $30. Make up a savings plan on putting that money aside. Whether or not is it a money market, mutual funds, or just putting into your savings account. You can start setting aside that. And then once you look at all of that and you got your numbers, then you can kind of figure out how you're going to go ahead and pay off your debt, your credit cards, your student loans, all those type of things. Look and see how you could go ahead and start paying those off. And then look at other ways that maybe you're not making enough money. What can you do to increase your income? You may need to take a part-time job doing something, maybe a few hours a week, so that you go ahead and being able to take care of your debt. So those are the things that you want to kind of map out for a month. And in that way, you can kind of start setting your plans. So we're going to talk about some key tips that you could do to make your financial, make you stronger financially and more stable. Track where your money goes, okay? If you track it, you know where it's going. And you can kind of look at, if you can, look at it over the last quarter. If you can't figure that out very well, then look at it for the last month. Find out where your money is going. Is it going to utilities? Is it going to Starbucks? Is it going to Smoothie Kings? Is it going out to, you go grocery shopping, but yet you have to go ahead and buy lunch every day, even after you went grocery shopping. So kind of track where all of your money is going. And once you track it, it's gonna come to a realization, oh my gosh, I did not realize I'm going to Starbucks because I want that real pick me up, or I want that sugar rush, or I want that Coke, which used to be 75 cents, it was even 25 cents. Now it's almost $2. And you need that Coke or something. So yeah, and now it's $2. And once you start tracking it, you're gonna start realizing where your money is going. And it's gonna put that light bulb on, and it's kind of like, wow. And you're gonna have an aha moment. But you won't know that until you start tracking where your money's going. And then once you start doing that, start paying off your debt little by little. And it's okay, little by little. You don't have to go ahead and say, I want to pay off my debt in 3 years, and then you don't have no money to do anything else. And that at that time, you might want to go ahead and see a financial advisor. And one of the things that you want to do is categorize your savings by splitting up your savings. Now, this is the money that you have afterwards, after you figure out that you have some extra money, and then say, hey, well, I want to be able to start setting up a retirement plan, because I can tell you, for somebody who is living and having collected Social Security, yes, I'm that old. Social Security does not cover everything. When you think about what you used to make when you was working, you're not going to get that full paycheck when you get Social Security. And they always threatening to say, well, by the time some of the young people now in their 20s and 30s, there may not be no Social Security system. So you have to kind of plan for that. And so that's kind of what you want to put one of your part of your savings is going towards your retirement. Do you want to work until you're 70 and 80 years old? I don't think so. So you want to start planning for it now. Also for emergency funds, you need to set aside monies for emergencies, hospitalization, and lately, and this is why some people is getting really stressed because of COVID. A lot of people have been passing away, and some of them didn't have no type of plan. I know for me, and my family, my brother-in-law, he passed away a few years ago, and no one had money to go ahead and take care of his funeral. But I was able to, because I was putting aside monies and I was able to help. But those are the type of things you don't even think about. Even to perform maintenance on your car. All these different types of things you want to kind of think about. So you want to kind of, set aside all of your savings into different categories. And you may want to put down some of the other types is like vacation. I don't think you all want to work 365 days and not go out and have some fun. And then also sinking funds. And sinking funds is what you want to, consider for a new car or an upcoming trip. So those are the things that you want to kind of set aside your monies for and put into, kind of think about it and set up your categories: retirement, new car, vacation, emergencies. And then once you kind of set aside all of these different type of categories, then what you can say is whatever extra monies that you have at the end of the month, you can say, and even if it's $30, you may say that $30 is not enough, but $30 is better than $0. So you can say I could put $2 here in each one of your little different accounts. You could put $2 in each one. And, so you can just kind of be imaginative, but the biggest thing is to go ahead and set aside something instead of having nothing. Because what happens when you don't set aside something, you start using your credit card, and then you start getting into credit card debt. And so what you want to do is, when we say pay off debt little by little, always allocate extra money to go ahead and take care of those debts, especially the ones with the highest interest rates. And nowadays, especially when you're late on your credit card bills, you say, hey, I'm late. Guess what? If you read your contract on a lot of your credit cards, if you're late on your payments for any extended period of time, guess what goes up? Your interest rates. And then when you start looking at your bill, you say, I'm putting above the amount that's due, but I'm still in debt. I'm still not getting this, down. And that is because you may not realize, but when you was late, even 3 or 4 days, they start penalizing you by increasing your interest rates. So don't do that. And so what you want to do is do what you can. Now, what we want to do is, they always say don't pay the minimum amount, always try to pay above. But if you're looking at your budget and your credit cards and whatever other types of debts that you have, you want to go ahead and not only look at the amount, but also look at the interest rates. So if you have one that's an interest rate of 10%, but yet you have another one that's 24%, set up a plan to where you could go ahead and do the 10% at minimum payments. And then once you got that all paid off, but you're going to put the extra amount towards the higher interest rate. So now once the higher interest rate credit card is done, now you can put some more money towards the other ones that you've been putting aside for the minimal amount. Make and stick to a budget. I know sometimes, just like when I talk to people about living healthy and eating healthy, they just kind of get the gag reflex. And not a lot of people want to make or stick to a budget because it's difficult. It is very difficult. And I can say that because I know it is. It's very difficult. But if you do set a budget, you're going to have great rewards because you're sticking to it. Now, of course, there's going to always be situations where you're going to have to be a little bit more fluid and flexible, and you may get off the horse, something happened, and you had to get off your budget for a short period of time, but always get back on it and start again. You could help by, setting up automatic drafts to keep yourself from spending money, and you put it into your savings account and paying towards your bills. And then you can also set up a spreadsheet of everything and just each month look at it and write things down. Now, there was a question earlier during the other presentation. What is a good tool to go ahead and do that? If you have Microsoft Office, there is the Excel, and Excel has a nice spreadsheet in there for you to use to go ahead and help with your budget. And it'll allow you to put down all of your expenditures. And then also we'll go ahead and let you put in how much money you're making, and it'll go ahead and calculate what you have at the end. And you could do that each month. And that way you keep track of everything. So you could do that. Or if you're one of those kind of people that's very creative, you could create your own spreadsheet. But they do have one in Excel, and you can use that one. You don't need to go and buy you one of those expensive ones or something. You got 365 Microsoft, use it. And what should you know about savings? One of the nice things, a lot of people don't think about it. And when you buy stuff on your credit card, and you're just using your credit card, you don't realize that you're still paying for an item on a credit card 3 years from now. And where is that item you bought 3 years ago? Those pair of shoes, that really expensive coat that you didn't really need, but you bought it anyway. The coat doesn't fit you anymore. But guess what? You're still paying on. So, when you think about it, you have to go ahead and be very careful. And the best time to save is right now. Just do it. I mean, even if it means just every little bit of change that you have, you put it into a jar. It's okay. Because then what you could do is once a month, take that jar to Walmart, cash it in, put it in a little money machine, cash it, and then take that money and put it into your savings account. Very simple things that you could do. It's just a matter of just being creative and doing that. So like at the end of the day, you go ahead and you had $5 at the beginning of the day, and at the end of the day, you had $1 left. Put that dollar in a jar. Whatever you have left at the end of the day, put it into a jar. And then you start getting a lot of extra money. Or even and you could also, another suggestion that you could do is that at the end of the month, you found you had some extra money. Guess what you could do with that extra money? Put it into your savings account. So there's a lot of different things that you could do. So doing a budget, it could be very simple and very easy. It's just a matter of like anything else. You just got to do it. And once you do it, then it becomes fun. Oh my gosh. How many of you, okay, and be honest with yourself, you don't have to raise your hand, but how many of you get very stressed about what's going on, whether or not it's your money situation, whether or not it's something that's going on, and you go shopping and you don't care what it is, but you're going to go ahead and go shopping. My mother was telling me about a friend of hers. She has a closet for her shoes. Her friend, and she don't even wear them. Some people, they're impulse shoppers. And we're going to talk about mindfulness a little bit later, but you have, if you find yourself looking in your closet and you've got a closet of shoes more than you have anything else in your closet, it's all shoes, or it's dresses that you're not even planning on wearing, or something that you just look nice, but you really don't have any need for it, that can be considered impulse buying, especially if you don't really need it and you're just kind of, mindlessly shopping. So by controlling that, it's going to also help you to get your finances into order. But you have to be kind of mindful about all that and what's going on. And what are your triggers? So we're going to talk about mindfulness a little bit. Oops. Practicing mindfulness is something that's going to be very helpful. There's been a lot of studies that shows that mindfulness, being mindful, and just how the word says, is actually being in the present moment and seeing what's going on in your life. What's going on? What are you doing? And they've also found that people who do practice mindfulness, their anxiety levels and stress levels are very low. You hear me? Let me say it again. Their stress levels and their anxiety levels are very low. So mindfulness has been shown to help with soothing anxiety and also reducing your stress. There's a part of the brain that when you're stressed, very anxious, having a lot of negative thoughts, you can't think clearly. Now, you can't think clearly at the same time of, being mindful. One or the other. You cannot do both. So with practicing mindfulness, you're actually slowing down your thought process. You're getting to understand why you're making certain decisions, and does those decisions align with your core values and what you want to accomplish. It also asks you these questions. Let's think about when you're getting ready to purchase something, ask yourself these questions. How long will I feel good about this? Now, if you impulse shopping and you just need to go buy something and you find this dress, it's got the right price, but the hideous look, where he says, oh, it's on sale. But you're not going to wear it. I've known lots of people who would say, I bought it because it was on sale. Maybe I may not like it, but maybe I can give it as a gift, or maybe I might need it later on. No. Ask your question. How long will I feel good about this particular item? And if you say, maybe a hot minute, then you don't need to buy that. And then also, will this keep me on track towards my short and long-term goals? If the answer is no, just take a deep breath and say, I don't need it. And exactly why I'm making this purchase. You're being mindful. You're starting to ask yourself these questions. And again, because of the way our society has grown, we're so quick to respond. We don't want to wait for the answers, and we just want to do. And guess what? When you keep doing, after a while, you're done. Your finances are done. So you want to go ahead and stay really mindful of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and the reaction of what your body's saying when you're doing those. And that's why practicing mindfulness is really key to helping you. Because now you're spending more time being attentive to your needs. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get started and do our meditation. So as we get ready to prepare for it, I would like for you to go ahead and just sit still. If you're in your chair, make sure, I'm gonna give you a few minutes, go ahead and make sure that your door's closed, your lights are off. And if you're listening to this video, if you want to lay on the floor, that's fine. Just make sure you're in a nice, comfortable position. So I'm just gonna get you a few minutes to get yourself comfortable. Make sure that you're sitting upright in your chair. And if you want, you could go ahead and close your eyes, or you could just kind of have your eyes going downward in a soft gaze, especially if you're still at work and you want to do this. You don't want nobody to realize that what are you doing over there? Tell them I'm listening to a presentation and they can't say nothing about that. It's all work related. And the other thing is, if you want, you could also go ahead and look at the video too, if you want to. So let's get started. I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit. What I want you to do at this present moment, I want you to take a nice deep breath in, inhale, and exhale. Breathing in and breathing out. This meditation is going to be about letting go of regrets. We all face regrets sometimes in our lives. And sometimes we carry those regrets with us for years and years and years. But we're going to go ahead and let that go. Those regrets that happened in the past due to mistakes that we were totally unaware of, that we've asked for forgiveness, is no longer serving us any longer. It's already gone. It's in the past. But sometimes it still holds on us. So let's go ahead and let it go. We're going to do a body scan, and we're going to scan the body and take note of what you're feeling. We don't do this often enough. So we're going to take the time now to do that. If there's any spots of tension, soften the tension and release them. Stay focused on your breathing. And it's okay if something distracts you or you start thinking about your finances. or what you got to do tomorrow. That's okay. When those thoughts come into mind, just go back to your breathing, inhaling and then exhaling. And as you breathe, notice how your chest and abdomen expands to allow the air to enter your lungs. What sensations are you aware of? And as you exhale, bring awareness to the stillness and notice the sense of relaxation as you go deeper and deeper. Now bring your attention to the top of your head, noticing any sensations in the scalp, down the back of your head, to the sides, and to your face. Notice your jaw, if you're holding any tension in your jaw. Let your face be soft. Relax the muscles around your eyes and your mouth. Gently notice your neck and your throat. Any sensations, just notice them. And as you breathe in and out, allow any tension to just relax. Moving down to your shoulders, your upper arms, your elbows, your forearm, your wrist. Notice any tension and tightness. Notice what the fabric of your clothing feels like against your skin. Continue to breathe in and to breathe out. Notice any tension that you may be still holding in your body. And just breathe in and breathe out and just let it relax. Now picture yourself holding a box. In this box are the regrets of your past. You know that you can't change what's in that box, just as you can't change what happened in the past. But you can learn from your experiences. You can learn from your mistakes. And just breathe in and out. Breathe in forgiveness. Breathe out any regrets that you may have. Any tensions that you may be feeling, just notice it for what it is. And just breathe in and relax. Forgive yourself. Accept yourself wholly and completely. You are loved. You are a human being. We all make mistakes. But don't hold on to the mistakes any longer. Give yourself permission to feel differently. No regrets. Being more present with yourself, more loving and stronger. You can also move on from the past. Your past does not dictate your present, and it doesn't go into the future. So just relax and breathing in and out. Picture yourself sitting, setting that box down. Close the lid, sealing the regrets inside. Now turn your back on that box and walk away. Feeling the lightness of your body, you are no longer carrying around any regrets. You are free now, free to choose joy. The past doesn't define your present or your future. You are at peace with the past. You can move forward with joy. And just now, just feel that pleasure of joy and happiness within you. And that is something you want to hold on to. And just relax. And as we get ready to close on this meditation, just wiggle your toes and wiggle your fingers. But I want you to hold on to that peacefulness that you have. That peace, this freedom from all and any regrets. Because now your present has a better joy to it. Because you're now at peace with yourself. You can open your eyes when you're ready and go forth from this day on with no regrets. So we're going to conclude this presentation with several tips. So a quick recap. If you follow these 6 key tips to improve you may help to improve your finances. 1, most important, create a plan. Put it on paper. Don't let it ride in your head because you got enough things up in your head as it is. Trying to figure out a plan for how you can get out of debt needs to be put on paper. And the handouts that we're going to be getting to you later on, is going to help you to write down that plan. And then categorize your savings and your funds. Where is your money coming from? Where it's coming and what you're able to save based on that. Pay off high interest debt first. One of the things to track your cash flows and debt. I don't know if some of you have ever heard of the envelope system. I've tried it and it works wonders. Once you kind of create your plan and you know where everything needs to go, and now what is your spending, what you're going to be spending, put it into an envelope. Go to the bank. If you say that every month I have a habit, I got to go to Starbucks or go to Smoothie King, kind of say, well, I could cut back on that maybe instead of going to, Starbucks every day. Maybe I could go 3 days a week. And then you calculate how much money that's going to cost. And then you go ahead and put that in the envelope. And then that way, when you spend it and put on it Starbucks and put that in your envelope. And then when it's gone until the next month. But if it's extra, then you can kind of reward yourself, say, I didn't spend as much money as I needed to. And then also the same thing with going grocery shopping. Put down how much money you spend on groceries. I did a class last week on healthy eating and healthy living. And I asked people, do you make a grocery list? And quite a few people did not. And they do impulse shopping when they're doing grocery shopping. And sometimes we all do that. We'll wind up getting all of these items and you go home and you realize you got about 15 cans of baked beans, black beans, pinto beans, and 3 bags of rice. And you bought 2 more of each. Or even the fact that you're going and doing all that grocery shopping and you're still going out to the store to buy your lunch every day. Try to change that habit. When you go grocery shopping, kind of make a plan for what you're going to eat for your meals at dinner, lunch, and breakfast. Plan it all out. And then that way you can find your spending is going to be completely different. And when you do that, as part of your envelope, make that budget and stick with it. But of course, things do happen. I know some of you would like to be able to take a trip. And so you can be able to set aside money to go on that trip, but stick to it. And all else, especially if you have found yourself so overwhelmed with the debt that you've placed yourself in, it makes you very depressed and anxious, seek help. Talk to somebody to kind of help you with that feeling of depression and anxiety, and to talk it out. Because sometimes a lot of the things that we've learned as far as spending and finances is habits that we've created, but also is also kind of the kind of mentality of our family. Some people say it doesn't make a difference to have a budget, just spend. And sometimes what we call have a broke mentality. And people's always thinking they're broke and never having any money. And then you'll find that maybe that's your parents talking, or their grandparents, or their great grandparents. Sometimes it is something that happens within the family, and it's a mentality that just keeps on going. But you have the opportunity to break that. So seek help from somebody if you need. It's covered under your insurance as far as mental health. Be able to understand and be mindful what's going on, and there's no shame in it. And also, there are lots of different agencies that could be able to help you. There's one agency called Green Path, and what they could do is help you set up a budget. And then also, especially if you have a lot of credit card debt, it would mean that you have to cut your credit cards, but they'll go ahead and talk to your financial institutions and get them to lower your interest rates on your cards. And the organization, they will go ahead and pay your bills for you. Very simple. You don't have to worry about it. The money just comes out of your check going to them, and they'll make the payments after they talk to your creditors to getting your interest rates and lowered. And the one thing that they'll do is they'll pay off your higher interest rates, and then they'll go to the lower ones too. And you'll find yourself completely out of debt, where if you was to do it on your own, it may take 8 to 9 years. And why should you hold on to debt for that long when it may take them 5 years to take care of it for you? And then that means you're richer after that. But always seek help when you need it. And it's never too late. Don't think that it's just too late for you. It's never too late. So keep in touch. If you have any questions, here's my phone number, like in our website and email address. If you have any questions or anything that you would like to ask for help, we'll definitely be able to help you on that. And this is just some of the references that I've used during this presentation. Okay. So are there any questions?